All right, let me get the live stream started. Here we go. And we should be good to go. Just make sure, validate, and verify. Um, okay, it looks like we're live on YouTube and we're good over here. How do I sound? Do I sound good? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys and welcome you to um, how they're going to do it and push people into the public grid. Um, We're just like, what do you mean pushing people into the public grid, Kelby? Well, it's kind of something that everything that they do is for a reason. And so when you're looking at the narratives and the items to which they push, look at the ultimate results that are going to come to play. And that is the social credit score system, Agenda 2030, you will own nothing and love it. And God, that just doesn't feel like Kelby. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta go with the counter narratives. Anyway, how potential pandemics and macro panics are used to centralize control. Um, Today, I'm going to do a kind of like a weekly brief with you guys. We begin today by looking at the macro landscape from the standpoint of every time a public narrative hints at a new crisis, whether it's a supply chain collapse, Garden Grove blow up. I don't know if you guys have heard this on a national scale yet, but 30 or 40,000 residents have had to flee their homes here in Orange County because there's a potential massive blow up from a chemical factory. Whether it's a global conflict, war, the quiet whispers of potential pandemic resurgent, a power outage, the public matrix always reflects and reacts in the same way. They centralize control, they don't waste anything. Fear is the ultimate commercial mechanism. When a population is panicked, they willingly surrender their autonomy for public safety. I don't like that narrative. Like, give us your guns for public safety. We see in the banking system outright economic panics or health crisis are historically used to freeze local commerce and push people away from physical assets into a digital tracked public ledgers. They want you reliant on their banking windows, their digital apps, and their rules of engagement. Remember, over the last 2 years, banks have been closing that element of um, that one-on-one with a teller, no more. As a fiduciary under God, me, Kelby, I find it to be a mandate that during these macro disruptions, not to hide, it's likely to remain unchanged or unshakable. They will always push their narrative. When the masses are running towards the public safety event, a Kelby, a sovereign, not a sovereign citizen, not the narrative to which they want to speak over me, but just the American, that state of the Union citizen, has already established their own fortress. We don't look at a crisis as a threat. We look at it at the exact moment when the public grid exposes its vulnerability. What are the weaknesses? If you haven't separated your livelihood from their central operational triggers, you are walking into a trap of implied consent. No food, no water. I need help. Where's the local FEMA camp? These are the periods to which we need to discuss as a populace. Have you taken care of your family? Have you taken care of the narrative of what it looks like if power grid were to shut down for 10 days, 14 days? Those are rumors, but man, what would it take to get us to move away from having nothing for 14 days? Lights turn on and the banks are closed. Stores are no longer receiving dollars. What does it now look like? You have to go get a digital ID to start. And that's where they roll it out. Do you have food? Are you going to fight the digital ID system? How do you even pay your property taxes at that time? You own your house outright? Maybe. how do you pay those property taxes if you don't apply for the digital ID system? So we have a time to which believed somewhere in July. By the way, happy birthday, America. We are coming up to the 250th quarter millennia, 250th anniversary of the greatest nation on earth, or the greatest farce, or the greatest founding of a nation of people on earth. And those are words that a lot of people don't even know what I'm saying, and it's quite all right. But in July, we're standing to go for what's called the Clarity Act. And the reason behind the Clarity Act is much deeper than a lot of people think. And for one, I'm not thinking it's such a bad idea if you understand technology and you understand how technology can be used towards your benefit. You can be a bank these days. You can control the narratives. You can control your phone. You can control what's released on your phone for the most part. But there are things that we do have under our controls, and we really should be considering for ourselves coming in the next few months. July could be the month for clarity. And if clarity happens, you're going to see a transition into a much different realm for a lot of members within this organization known as His Advocates. We are ready. We have been considering these events for years and buying and getting ready for what might be considered moving into a cashless based system. So let's look at the mechanics, what's happening right now in Washington. Everyone in the digital asset space has been holding their breath for the digital asset market bill known as the Clarity Act. Let me give you the exact ground truth update as of May 2026. Just a few days ago, on May 14th, the Senate Banking Finance Committee finally advanced a substitute text of the Clarity Act with a bipartisan 15-9 vote. That means the committee who oversees the bill that gets introduced to all of the Senate for the vote is at 15-9. That's actually pretty good. Now, I know everybody wants to stay with dollars, and I get it. People want to stay cash driven, meaning let's leave the cash on the table. There may be some room for us to talk where we have cash and digital currency for a period of time, but I don't think it's going to be for a lengthy period of time. Once the digital markets pick up and once people understand the benefits from them, and once people understand that they can be a bank, which I think will be soon outlawed or illegal, and you'll have to have an account over here with X amount of dollars over here so you can receive a social credit score based deposit of how good of a boy you've been for that month. It's now headed into the full Senate committee, but there's about 5 bills that are being introduced at the same time, important ones, and generally they can only get through 1 or 2 of them. So we're really hopeful for July, but I have a feeling because of the world playing through and the way that it has to play through that we're going to have an outcome for this Clarity Act in July. From there, it must be reconciled within the House version before hitting the president's desk. The realistic timeline for the full passage, they're targeting July 4th. What a great day. What a great day. Right before midterm election gridlock sets in. The cleared Senate banking reconciled through the Senate Finance Committee with a July 4th date. If we get this passed, you're going to see the launching of every crypto that is used to control the grid. You're going to see the price evaluations change, in some cases overnight, by 100x, 1000x. As fiduciaries, we must look past the headlines and read the fine print. What does the Clarity Act actually do? Does it apply to us? No, it does not. But the overreach of how they are controlling monies will always apply. Does the law apply? No. But does the overreach of how money is handled apply to us? Well, we're going to have some effects. It creates a strict division between network tokens, which will be codified as digital commodities under the CFTC, and which will remain under the thumb of the SEC based on a series of disclosures. But more importantly, the banking cartel, the bill contains heavy restrictions that prohibit digital asset. This is the current bill. It could change. But these restrictions could prohibit digital asset platforms from paying passive yield or interest on stablecoins. There's a lot of good reasons behind that. But because corporate stablecoins currently are paying 5 to 10% interest, are in direct threat to traditional banking deposits. Why would you have money over here in a bond at 2% per year when you can have money over here in crypto at 5% per month? There are some out there that are like that. Obviously, it's the games that people play. They want you to divert and invest. Once the money leaves the banking system, the USD, and goes into crypto, it's gone forever. And in crypto is the forward. So banks are absolutely in fear of losing their asset base. They are not knowing what to do and how to control their assets. They've always controlled it very much differently than they currently are today. The banking lobby stepped in to protect their borders. The lesson is clear here. The public system will always regulate away passive ease to force you back into their commercial institutions. Let's talk about XRP. XRP, my personal fave. It's the banker's coin. But if you're going to align with any coin, you might as well pick the one that the bankers don't want you to have. You might as well pick the one that the bankers have propped it up to have full clarity as an absolute currency and commodity. This brings you directly into basically owning what they own. Like they have these complete portfolios and all these systems. But when you understand what XRP can do, it runs the rails for all of the banking system of the world. So here we have companies popping up. Ooh, competition. Ooh, competition. Let's talk about the rails. The rails are needed by everybody. It's just like having all these cell phone towers. You have all these companies popping up, introducing nationwide cell service. Where did they come from? Oh, they're riding the piggyback of AT&T, who is selling their bandwidth on their towers to a company like T-Mobile or the like. No different with XRP. It's kind of cool because people out there with the XRP ledger, it's an open source ledger where they've allowed people, institutions, banks, countries to develop their own cryptocurrency, their own coin systems based on top of the XRP ledger, and they can run clean with full autonomy, full control. And why? For cross-border payments. See, currently 156 trillion gets moved through the SWIFT banking system. SWIFT is cross-border banking for all of the banks. Currently, banks have to have money in what's called a Nostra account held over to the side like an escrow account so that they can move money in large volume without worry of being hung up. They've guaranteed the wire from end to end and move money, and currently it's taking 2 weeks for 100 million, and it's quite expensive if you ask anybody at the bank. Well, about 3 or 4 years ago, I did a study on the SWIFT digital market introduction. They were working with about 11 banks trying to figure out how to get into the digital space. And I did a background on all 11 banks, and 10 out of 11 were contracted already to Ripple. And that's when I decided and told my people we don't need to take over Swift. We already have. Meaning everything is going to come through Ripple, whether Swift likes it or not. We've already picked up the customer base. We have customers like B of A, Wells Fargo, Amex, Visa, MasterCard, the entire stock market, the DTCC. You know it, you name it, and the switch is about ready to get flipped. Currently, the price, in my opinion, is still 3x to 5x for most people that bought when I told them to buy. About $1.32 to $1.50 on any given day. It's peanuts, ladies and gentlemen. It's peanuts. We can buy Ripple a lot more. And if you're new on this, listen, I know there's a lot of people out there that are trying to figure out what investment that they can do. They only have $100. Great. That is a lot of crypto. That's a lot of XRP. What if XRP turned out to be a $10,000, $100,000 coin 10 years, 15 years down the road, and you bought $100 of it today? You could retire. As a matter of fact, a lot of people will have a lot of money. And it's my personal feeling that they will grandfather those people in and they will make it illegal for new people to own and control XRP. XRP, as a matter of fact, is coming into a gridlock with how much is left out there to bid on. So we have this massive launch of spot ETFs, about 7 out there, and we got 14 coming. It means companies that are raising money through the elements of what's known as an ETF for the purposes of raising money with the backing of XRP, and then they provide a return. So they go buy XRP and then they prompt it up and say, here, investor, put your money in. We'll go buy more XRP and we'll hold it for you. I don't understand that concept. I'm going to buy gold and I'm going to let Joe Sixpack Financial Guy hold it for me? Oh, hell no. No, buy it and hold it. As a matter of fact, buy it and get it onto a hard wallet. Let me show you. There's all kinds of hard wallets out there. This is a Trezor Model T. This is a Nano. This is a Decent. These are all new wallets I've never opened before for reasons that when people follow me, they will know why. Other wallets, I have like a bunch of wallets because I test them and I want to know what is good. If you ever want to know the best wallet to buy, I would go to walletscrutiny.com. Just Google that. If you don't know how to spell it, it'll correct you and give you the appropriate link, and look for the wallets that are 10 out of 10 and then buy 2. Okay. With understanding why it's so important that these spot ETFs only pulled in 1.44 billion over this last year, and the price remains capped. It's because the market pricing and the structural hurdles are due to the Clarity Act. Banking needs clarity. Financial institutions rely on the government for clarity. Excuse me. I had a cat in my office all day, and I don't want to gross you out with why I had to take that drink of water. That's enough being said there. I'm glad I got you to laugh a little bit. Currently, there was 100 billion issued as a fixed cap of total market supply for XRP. Floating out there is 60.4 billion. Currently being held in reserves is 36 billion by Ripple. And I've heard CEO after CEO, both in the banking sector and in the crypto sector, poo-poo Ripple and why they're holding the capital and why they're doing these things. And what I am seeing is a play for global dominance by a single company to control the narrative of every single transaction in the world. So under Section 205 of this new bill, the Clarity Act, for a blockchain to be classified as a mature blockchain system and completely escape the SEC, no single entity like Ripple can control more than 20% of the supply. Currently, Ripple holds 34% of the total XRP supply in escrow. That means for XRP to fully untether and hit the institutional targets or change, meaning get its value that it should have today, 5, 10, 15 bucks, Ripple's legal team is going to have to drastically restructure, burn, or legally divest those escrow holdings to meet the Act's 20% mature threshold. Furthermore, Ripple's rollout of their new stablecoin is called Real USD. That, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be what you're going to be spending. You're going to be getting loans on your Ripple XRP. You're going to receive real USD and spend real USD kind of like you do regular dollars today. Real USD means institutional utility might shift to the stablecoin for settlement, leaving XRP as the underlying bridge asset. Now, I want to make this clear for you because a lot of people don't understand what I just said. Remember when I said banks had to keep money in a Nostra account, an escrow account, to move money cross-border through the SWIFT system? Banks no longer have to do that. With Ripple, the company, and XRP, banks just need to hold XRP, which they can call as an asset, use whenever they want, buy or sell anything whenever they want with it. And by the way, banks will want to see the XRP value go through the roof because that is going to be what is used to send these large transactional volume positions across border, bank to bank, world to world, country to country, whatever, as they currently already do 160 plus trillion annually. Banks can do it through Ripple by just holding XRP. No escrow account, no Nostra account. It's no big fee. Where what would have cost them for 10, 15 million, a $1,500 transaction would be maybe 50 cents. Much, much different, much clearer, and much quicker in 0.2 seconds. The average transaction taking 3 seconds maximum to clear and enter into an account and be verifiable on the other side. Talk about institutional development, talk about true clarity of where you're at. There's no float, there's no escrow, it's just there. So you must understand the difference between holding a speculative coin and or a public app or a cash flow and understanding the underlying mechanics of global financial infrastructure. Let's not get silly with the big words. Let's understand that what we have here is a coin that we can keep on a hard wallet, something that looks like this, to where we can spend it as if we are the bank with a cash flow system that never quits. Because if you have XRP on one of these devices and XRP becomes the backing of the global banking system, and it already is, your XRP is going to go parabolic and it's going to be sitting on a device. And you'll be able to plug the device into a phone and you're going to do it smartly. And before anybody does it, make sure that you understand some protocols of security and practice because you, my friends, are going to be the future billionaires. You, my friends, are going to be the ones that are going to be able to transfer large volumes of currency all over the world. And you're going to be able to navigate the system privately with total autonomy. So, how do we buy, hold, administer assets outside of the public view? How do we participate in this market without leaving our flank, our butt, exposed to public overreach, freezes, surveillance, or how do we take operations into the private jurisdiction? This is all about what His Advocates does. If you are buying digital assets through a centralized exchange using personal name and a public bank account, you have committed a foundational error. Foundation is the key word. There was a little pun there. You have created an absolute electronic paper trail that leads to your identity directly into a public tracking ledger. You have given them all an implied lien over your liquid wealth. To operate in true sovereignty, your digital asset administration must mirror your land administration. Remember, we talked about how to hold, control land, true title and lands. The private foundation vehicle. You do not open up accounts in your personal name. Your hard wallets, your private exchange nodes are held in the name of your foundation or your private business trust that we hold dearly under the Elohim or God. The trust is the entity, the foundation is the entity. You are merely a trustee or a fiduciary. Cold storage isolation is the same principle. You buy that with the foundation capital through a foundation bank account. If you didn't do that, you donate your crypto, you donate your hard wallet to your foundation. We have documents that you guys can do that with, but you do need a foundation. You got to get your name and your social away from anything that's holding assets. You never leave your assets on a public exchange. Leaving assets on an exchange means you are a secondary creditor in their banking or their bankruptcy, pool. Remember, HJR 192 is still active as a public bankruptcy for the United States. And remember that the United States federal and state, but federal, I can prove, judges are trustees to the bankruptcy, meaning you will never win. And if your name and your social are tied to something, they're going to pull that in to the total asset debt ledger because the person, the all caps name, the man's name is a debtor, a foundation that belongs to God that's unregistered is not a part of the public bankruptcy. It's a beautiful thing. So making the segregation, I would make it a mandate for you personally. But true safety means transferring your assets direct into a non-custodial, offline, hard wallet, much like this. By the way, the Trezor, I have the Trezor 7. It's a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for security. It's an open source. They're able to read the code and know what it says. And it's important for people to understand that public knowledge of the coding on side of a platform like that super important. And the guys that have this one particular website have graded Trezor, all model Trezors, 10 out of 10. So if you have your goods, your digital assets in an offline hard wallet managed under private keys that never touch the internet, which means the rails on and off are the things that which we need to learn about and talk about. How do you get on without exposing yourself? How do you do a transaction without exposing yourself? Peer-to-peer and non-custodial ramps are the only way. When liquidating or acquiring, you utilize private decentralized protocols and peer-to-peer arrangements that don't require banking joinder, meaning you don't need to give up the goods, the assets, the knowledge to these people. You just need to follow a protocol of technology that we are training at hisadvocates.org so that you can make sure that you remain private. And there are people that learn protocols, but they forget one. They forget just one and they lose their assets. Guys, it's like flying a plane. I don't know if you understand what flying a plane is like. You get out your book and you got to go through your checklist. All right. And you got to check this and you got to check this and you got to check this down and you got to do this down. And you got to check this and you got to do the floor and then you got to do this. And you got to look at the wings. You got to look at that. You got to make sure the light's turning on and off. And you go through a checklist. We're going to be doing that. We have to. We got to make sure our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed, the VPN is on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so that you are not going to lose your assets. Did not cuss. When you wrap your digital assets in a foundational structure and you secure the keys into physical storage on land defined by metes and bounds, you have created seamlessly your castle and your fortress. The public grid can monitor the blockchain all day long, but they can't find this particular signature. They cannot find an individual. They don't know who to go after because it belongs to a tax ID and a foundation that's private. It's not something under their jurisdictional control. And they do not have standing to cross that boundary line. Trust me, they set these structures up for themselves for the same reasons. You are in the world, but your wealth is safely anchored in the private under God because you've already dedicated it to Him. Now let's open up the floor for some questions. All of the cryptocurrencies tanked at the same time, including in Bitcoin. I'm not so worried about XRPs dropping because they will all increase the price as well, which is inevitable. Yeah, guys, look, crypto, stock market, you name it. Doesn't matter what's going on in the world, everything is going up and down at all times. But crypto is by far right now, in my opinion, the best asset class, specifically ISO 20022 compliant currencies are the best asset class cryptocurrencies that we could have ever in the history of the world. If it's overnight or 10 years, doesn't matter. The average person puts $100,000 up. They're waiting for a doubling of their return in 7 to 10 years. With crypto, many of the people that have invested in the coins that I have suggested have already doubled, tripled, quadrupled in a few short years. And it's even come back now. But with the Clarity Act and with people turning on their engines and these Ferraris going onto the track and the banking system just getting ready to take off in 2026, you're looking at 27, 28, 29, 30, them trying to figure out how to regulate those systems, how to control those narratives to which they've been controlling in China and Singapore and other countries for years already. They're trying to do it for the rest of the world now. This is why when we control our assets with a class or a thing that does not exist under their control that operates in their system, at best they can do is temporarily freeze an account. They don't have any permanent jurisdiction over those accounts, and they can't bring somebody and force somebody into the nature of changing how they do business, because I guarantee a court would remove any injunction of a freeze over an entity that they have no jurisdiction over. Ripple is the company that uses XRP, is not the maker of XRP. I've heard that. Thank you. I came into a little late. How can we get in touch with you to talk over situations on how to start the change to get asset protection? Go to hisadvocates.org, register. You can also call us toll free at 844 HIS-ADVO, 844 HIS-ADVO, press extension 706, or just press the number 2 and it'll get you to one of our reps. I got a few questions that were pre-done by some people here. Let me find them. There they are. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Here's a generic question from Linda, and it's something that's been asked and answered before, so I'm going to have to do some guidance on this a little bit. How do we purchase a house or land? That's a generic question to a broker by trade, a California real estate broker by trade, and would take an average of 2 to 4 hours of solid training and a set of documents to clearly answer that. People that are going through the living in the private program, we've created a set of docs that you can acquire somebody else's asset in the private. If it were me, because over the last 10 years, interest rates have gone down as low as 2%. I would utilize a set of docs like we have, find people in situations where they're wanting to leave their house with a low interest rate loan. You would have to bring them current, give them a little bit of capital to move, and you have a low interest rate loan with a set of docs that keep your house and you private. Um, that's the way that I would purchase it. I cannot detail that out for you here. It's too long of an answer. Is it only through a for sale by owner? No. Anybody that's losing their house, anybody that wants to sell their house, if you're in a cash position to purchase a house, cash is king. And but this for sure is a buyer's market by far. Sellers no longer have control of the marketplace. There's not as much inventory. Yes, it's because banks are holding, but the reality is house prices are dropping right now. Next question. Can a humanitarian foundation receive governmental grants? No. It is private. It is not public. It is not a 501c3. They will be looking at that. And the reason is because a 501c3, they know everything about the individual that applied for it. Plus a 501c3, the government actually owns all the assets. The individual, it's a non-for-profit. So the people that control the 501c3 don't ever own or control anything. This is why it's absolutely stupid. Sorry, churches, for you to put an asset in a 501c3. Absolutely stupid, because you're making the government own the asset, period. And if you don't believe that, I'll prove it to you. Plus, I'll prove it to you on the deed how you don't own it. In love. This is why I always tell pastors, come over, get a foundation. We'll help you out for free. Do you know I've been offering that for 7 years to churches to get a foundation in the private to do business properly. And even the pandemic has happened. They were told, you can't open up, you can't worship, you can't do this. And do you know how many pastors have called to figure out what being in the private under God directly is? To get a free way to operate under God? Do you know how many? It's a hard thing to believe in. I get it. Government is always truthful. They're always righteous. They're perfect. They don't ever lie. They don't spin things. They don't bait us. They're not trying to get anything over on us. What's the difference on the 501? It's the most beautifully architected way to get pastors to donate all their assets to the government up front. Hello. Hello. That's really what it is. And to the pastors, I just want one. Just give me an opportunity to serve you. I'm not asking for anything from you. Let me show you why. Let me show you how. I've gotten referrals to pastors. Call them up, no return phone call. Whatever. All right. God loves it. Kelby, if our foundation were to make a loan to a nonprofit or non-private party and become their bank to pay their mortgage, would our foundation be able to pay off that loan directly to their bank for them? Yes. So they are not accountable for any capital gains. The loan has nothing to do with capital gains. The element of how they hold title upon sale currently, but soon capital gains will be measured and taxed on an annual basis. Yes. So put a home in a foundation name now. And make that a requirement that they start a foundation under their name. You then can give them a loan. And now you can also go on the board, and you can also show a cause for foreclosure within the foundational documents, plus the trust deed. Plus, you can do it in court if you need to. I know you don't plan on doing any of that, but something that needs to be talked about. So, last part of your question: as this is a loan and the interest paid back with the total paid in full would help account as a means of our foundation for self-supporting ministry to generate income and support for our foundation. Two things. If they are a non-believer, I would call yourself in a biblically clear, I would say that you would be in an okay format to be able to do something like this. But as a believer, the element of usury or interest, there are biblical debates on, is it just interest? Is it usury? Or is it a combination of the both? So without giving you a biblical teaching right now, do some research before you do that. You may want to honor what the word says about loaning money to another believer. You want to make it interest free or make it usury free, or figure out what that exactly means. Look at several different words, word of God's, meaning, I know there's one, but look at different interpretations so that you can get your mind wrapped around that. It's pretty important. If we're not supposed to be charging another brother interest, we should listen to that and think that through. And I know that you want the income, and I know that it's pretty important for you. But trust me when I tell you, the blessing that you would have in supporting believers with your capital um, is beyond anything. You can always pledge the asset into a pool that earns a rate of return over here. There's other things that can be done to offset the capital requirement of interest to the end user than taking the asset itself and pledging it against something else that earns a risk-free interest. There's ways to help your foundation. Any specific paperwork that you'd recommend for this process? Again, if you're going through the LPP process, which I know you are, David, just call and ask. I believe I have a set of documents that I would utilize for something like this, but it's, my documents are more for a takeover of an asset. So you'd have to customize them to be a deed of trust and a loan to an individual. It might be a bit of a change there. Okay. Dr. Dr. Hawkeye, waiting on the land deed from you, but I'm not sure about the recording of the deed, the parish. Just about to let them know I don't own it anymore. Hawkeye, I was waiting to have a meeting with my guy tomorrow regarding yours specifically. I know I said it was going to be last week. I know it's done, and all I need to do is review it, but I reviewed it and I have a question. So at some point, if you see my phone ring tomorrow, just pick up, please. I do have a question. Next question. What is that when I look up everything about being a state citizen versus normal and or taking my property off the county record? Everything says it's unrecognized sovereign citizen, suedio, stuff, whatever. Anyway, it's hard to read, super small. What do I say? Um, well, I've chatted with multiple AIs, multiple police officers, the FBI, about state of the union citizen stuff. In my book, What Does It Mean to Be an American, which you can download for free on hisadvocates.org. In this book, I show all the sovereign myths to be absolutely true, meaning the Supreme Court has determined that ChatGPT, Gemini, police officers, all the FBI, Homeland Security, judges, they are the liars. That our country was founded and state citizens are not only lawful, but there's two citizenships held in this nation. There's a federal and there's a state. The state is what our founders were. And I know people even said, because ChatGPT told me so, that you under the 14th Amendment became a federal and were both a state and federal citizen. And then I showed ChatGPT that no, you can still be only a state citizen and not a federal under a corporation. And that the federal citizen was, in fact, a birth certificate under UCC 9 registered organization. And that we were holding an office called U.S. citizen by contract through and to the District of Columbia. And I also showed it all the rules pertaining to many, many things. And I ended up getting Gemini, ChatGPT, and all of them siding with me. And then about 2 weeks later, they forget it all. Because if you don't have your persistent storage set up on your thing, they go right back to where they were in the very beginning. We've proven this over and over, that what we have in this nation as state citizenship is absolute. Now, to the other side of your question, taking your property off the county record. Listen, guys, one of the questions on the broker exam, you're talking to a licensed real estate broker who's done loans, thousands, okay? Understands title, understands deeds. So a police officer or the internet is going to issue the rhetoric to which they don't want the people to believe to be true. Because can you imagine for a second, there's a question on the broker's exam, are you required to record a transaction in the county recorder's office upon purchase? The answer is no. I got it wrong on a practice exam. And it blew me away, and it got me into, because I'm a thinker, what are the ramifications of buying a piece of land and not recording it? Huh. And then I looked up and found the words counter deed in Black's Law. So you go look up counter deed in Black's Law, which matches what I just told you, and ask yourself, why are they using the words counter deed, which comes from a Supreme Court ruling, to make a definition for a deed? Oh, apparently there's some truth to what I just said. Because it is an unrecorded, unregistered deed that when presented abolishes, alters, changes the public side recording of that particular transaction or that particular home. In other words, it's not pseudo science. It is science. It is fact. Science isn't fact. Sorry, that was a horrible analogy. The element of sovereign citizenship has never been defined because they don't want a court to pick that one up and battle that. They don't. They don't want people to bring in state citizenship court cases and go, oh, then what is this? And have to create another decision on a matter for another individual in trouble. They don't want that. Somebody calls you a sovereign citizen, just what does that mean? Why would you disparage me like that? Please define that. Oh, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. The judge is going to vacate that. No requirement to answer that question. Just be quiet, sir. That's a matter of international security, public interest, federal. You're going to hear all kinds of crap. But look, I know that you're saying when you look up everything, why don't you look up the law? Black's Law counter deed. Look up every case in this book and find it on the websites that publish the law, and you're going to see they're not only active law today, but they're all real. Okay. So does the government lie? A little bit. A little bit. My fish is this big. They lie a little bit, just yeah, they lie all the time. And it's not for your public safety. It's to control. And that's what we were talking about when we first got on this show tonight. It's about controls, controlling the grid, the narrative, and so forth. So God bless you guys. I don't see any more questions. Hold on. I do. Here we go. I'm going through the passport process. I see in the passport documentation paperwork, get a general long form. Don't worry about it. Just get a county recorded um, live born record or birth certificate. I was told by my county recorder this is the form of the birth certificate. That's fine. Use whatever the county recorder gives you. That's all you need. Um, don't worry about getting it authenticated. Don't worry about doing any of that. That has yet to be changed because many people are going to use an authenticated long form birth certificate for something else down the road after the fact. If you're in a big hurry and you can obtain those things, go for it. If you can't, or they don't say that they have a long form, don't worry about a long form. Take whatever they get. You can go get it authenticated and use the authenticated copy for your passport, but it's not required. Just get the live born record, the birth certificate. Get 2 copies, and you're going to use one of those for your passport process, okay? And again, don't worry about how to certify or where to authenticate. Ruby, if you have a question pertaining to that and you really want to do it, go to our website. There's a lot of information on how to authenticate. You can actually go on to Google and figure out how to authenticate any document with the federal government. Next question, Craig. I'm about to print my active state and go to the notary. The document is 530 pages, which is the most cost-effective way to print it and mail it. What's the most cost-effective way to print it and mail it? My removal of signature document for the IRS has the year 2023 on it. Is this okay? I don't know whether it's okay or not because I don't know. I don't want to have to redo and include 2024 and 25. LOL. I don't know what you mean by 2023, the year. So you did the IRS docs in 2023. It doesn't matter. You don't need to file a return for 24 or 25, so you're fine. This is simply putting them into the public and then serving them with constructive notice. What's the most cost-effective way to print? Laser printer? Is that what you mean? I don't know. The best way to do the active state is have us, you create the PDF, we record it for you into the public, we give you the certification. That's the best, most cost-effective way to do your active state, unless you want to do it with the Secretary of State. Some Secretary of States charge per page. We charge for the whole set, like $200, record lifetime. Is it okay to have a whole life policy with the foundation as a beneficiary? I would say yes. There may be an issue with the insurance company as to that, but also understand something. It might not be necessary, Craig, to do that when an individual that receives a benefit from a life insurance has zero obligation to pay taxes on it. Okay, so they can receive it tax-free, 100 grand, 1 million, whatever it is, put it into their foundation and start operating. And I'm sure there's some insurance companies out there that would be more than happy to do that. If I do a 401k distribution and pay 10% early withdrawal penalty, if the money goes into the foundation quickly, does it not incur any additional income tax? Don't want to give the IRS or state any more necessary. Craig, take the early withdrawal hit, put the money into the foundation, buy crypto as fast as you can. ISO 20022, gold, silver, nothing else. Take the hit. Don't worry about the 10% hit. The amount of money that you're going to make on investing in gold, silver, and crypto is going to go through the roof. And we can show you how to do the donations so that you will offset taxes and maybe even get a return. I'm going to start a new type of advertising. I asked artificial intelligence if I could structure things where clients have to do their transactions through my company, and it said yes. So could I, in theory, start a bank? What are the steps I need to do to take before they change the laws? Kelly, are you asking me what to do to start a bank? Is that what I just heard? Look, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, thinking I am all that in a bag of chips, my brother. I'm very much feeling complimented and raised up. Thank you. I will tell you this. I do know how to start a bank. And there's the private way and there's the public way. Um, the bottom line, it requires software on the private side, and you can do whatever you want. It requires software and a certain type of bank account at any institution. On the public side, you actually got to go and ask for permission and have at least, and this is 20 years ago, $1 million of X, and you got to fill out paid paperwork this tall, and you got to wait. And but there is a way to become and get a bank, but it's much more complicated than my ability to answer a question for you here in a minute or two. So I appreciate it, Kelly. I mean, you're giving me way more than I deserve with a question like that. Next question. We receive mail through our local son's address. Mail has come in the all caps name and sometimes the foundation name. Do you feel it's all right, safe to receive mail there since it's local and not federal? It doesn't matter. It's all federal if you're receiving mail out of zip code, number one. Number two, I'm just crazy in thinking that I go over the top in my creation of the living in the private to secure people's interests, to make it so that people cannot receive a warrant or an indictment. And the one denominator in a warrant or indictment that is common is you receiving personal mail. So if you don't feel something's coming on the horizon, keep telling the people that are sending email to send it to your email from now on. Send it to your foundation. Keep working that angle. Get them out of sending you personal mail. Get it to the point where you open it up, take a picture, close it, return to sender, no such person exists. You're just dotting your I's with, you're contracting with the United States federal government. That's all. You're taking the main focus of how they get warrants and indictments, including the contracts that you keep. You're keeping that and you're pulling that off the table from them to be able to have jurisdiction over you. That's the hardest thing that we do, is to convince other people how to direct their mail to us. And it is important. I would continue working it, getting your name off of it, returning the stuff that has your name on it, calling them up and saying, hey, I heard something was returned to you. I want to pay that bill, but I want to tell you it's going to keep getting returned to you unless you send it in care of a foundation name. Does uninitiated mean apostille? No. Okay. That's it on the questions on that side. Have you completed the WADEN letter? No, but I got some juicy stuff for you, Belinda. I really do. And it's the right to work. And we're going to put them in a pickle. I've done a lot of research on your specific thing. Give me a few more days. It's just we're slammed. We got to get caught up on a lot of stuff. And we're in the middle of a huge expansion from a standpoint of utilizing technologies. So there are Supreme Court cases that apply to you that are a right to work. They cannot force you to sign something that you are not. You're not a U.S. citizen. So we're going to put them in a pickle, and we're going to show them the case laws to substantiate your position as a state citizen, and that you will be willing to sign a W-4 T or some form of exempt form to contract with them, but that you will not sign one whereby da 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 da. And then that you have a right to work. And here are those Supreme Court rulings. And we're going to put them into a corner that they will have to take in their mind what would be a risk, but in there'd be a bigger risk in letting you go or firing you or any of those things because of your status or standing versus them trying to take the position where you are in the United States. How do they prove that? It's because you have a passport. That's not proof, not according to the Supreme Court, and not according to the docs you present them. So you would be committing perjury on a W-4 by saying you're a U.S. citizen or U.S. person. You can't do that. So we're going to have a letter designed for you and take it to where you can take it to them, and you're going to smack them. Give me a couple days, please. Sorry, I meant to say, does authenticated mean to apostille? No. Authenticated means to certify something with the Department of State, first with the Secretary of State of your state, then with the Department of State of the United States, where you are authenticating a document as being a true and correct copy. So you can take that copy and go to a foreign country and do business. That's what authenticated. XRP is crypto. What is ISO 1022? ISO 2022 is a compliancy technology of a way to handle transactions. And there are 12, I'm guessing. I don't know. You can type this in and ask companies that are ISO 20022 compliant currencies. XRP is one of them. XLM, XDC, HBAR, ADA, Algo, there's a bunch of them. But all those currencies, for some reason, do something a little bit different than one another. And they all handle and work on a system that is easily reportable and manageable to a world order. So all of those are going to prosper, in my opinion. All right. 6 o'clock, 6:02. May God bless you. May God keep you. For you that are watching, download His Advocates TV onto your phones. In the event something happens, in the event we lose a channel, in the event whatever, we still got the His Advocates TV network to where we can broadcast from. Plus, tell your friends to go get a free copy of my book, What Does It Mean to Be an American, at hisadvocates.org. I know many of you are already a member, but come on, let's get out there and talk about His Advocates a little bit, get everybody stirred up. And of course, the government lies. Of course, they don't have our best interests. And of course, they create all these terms to create and make this argument amongst one another. Why would they want us to be operating as one accord? Why? It'd be them against us. That's why. They got to keep us divided. They got to keep brothers from sisters, blacks from whites, reds from browns. Got to keep Christians from other Christians, from other Christians, from Muslims. I mean, we can't just all get along. We all have to fight. And that, by division, is how they win when the people are divided. So of course they're gonna have a thing called, conspiracy theory about how JFK was assassinated, but now that it's come to light that the CIA really was behind JFK's death. But that term conspiracy theory really went out and projected out for the next 70 years, whatever it's been. It's the same thing with sovereign citizen. There's no legal definition behind it. And really, quite frankly, it's an oxymoron. And no, I don't think I'm a sovereign citizen. Do I believe that we can have sovereignty in law? Absolutely. Absolutely. Do I want to be an American? I not only want to be an American, I want to be the kind that our founders were when they founded this country. And we have to personally assign or sign to the Declaration in order to make that happen. If you don't, you're not a volunteer. Okay? You are subject to whatever your parents did with you. And this is why it's important when we do our passport paperwork, we do a declaration of allegiance to our state, which is what our founders were, state citizens. And then we do a a allegiance to the Declaration of Independence, which is to the greatest nation in the world. It's a trust indenture to the greatest nation in the world called the United States of America. United was an adjective. It wasn't a part of the name of our country. I'm a Californian, and we're united in these states called America. But there's another state called Mexico. There's another state called Canada. What do we do with these things? It's just interesting how we in this nation have something super special. Guys, beware. Look at what's happening in Canada right now where they're pulling people over, taking them straight to jail for not showing up to a doctor's appointment to see whether they're legally insane or not. It's crazy. I, I, I hate Canadian politics. I hate politics in general. And this is why I want to be self-governed. Truly what we have here in this nation is why I'm fighting hard to preach it, teach it, and share it with you guys. So God bless. Get this word out to people. Let them make their own mind up. Come to hisadvocates.org and join for free and start getting trickled a little bit of information. Forward them this video and see if they like it and want to share it, because I can prove everything I just said today in the law, meaning as it relates to state citizenship, as it relates to understanding title and what we can or cannot do with a deed, meaning not recorded into the public. What does that mean? Oh, it's an unrecorded private deed held. What is that? It's called a counter deed. Really? You mean Black's Law actually records what I just have been teaching for years and years and years? Yeah, they do. They do. And it doesn't mean that I am wrong. Doesn't mean they are wrong. But it sure and heck proves my position of understanding the law and how we do business. So I want to teach people how they themselves can be in the private. I want to teach people how they can have assets and control everything and own nothing and be liable for nothing personally. I want to teach people how to operate their crypto, their personal and business ventures through private unregistered entities that have no requirements for returns. And it's so foreign to people to think on this level. It's so foreign that they can unplug and not be a part of a system, that they get scared, they clam up, they shut up. Oh, this guy's going to jail. Am I really? I would be more worried about you going to jail than I would be ever worried about me. You're the debtor of a failed financial system converting over this summer. I'm the creditor. That speaks volumes, especially in court. God bless you guys. Have a great week. Thank you for coming on. To the VIP members, see you Thursday morning, 9 a.m. And we had our first great Q&A meetup with the VIP members this last week. We spoke for a couple of hours. It was a great meeting. We're going to be doing it every other week. I've already posted that for next month for you guys. So I'm also going to be doing a technology training course for the verklempt or elderly or people that don't know technology that well. It's not going to last a long time on my end, but there might be some holdup and some boring areas of this training that you may or may not want to be a part of. It's just waiting and having patience for people that don't understand technology. We're trying to really help people interact with our website, create a scan, upload a document kind of thing. We're going to push that out there this next month to help people to the next level. God bless, man. Have a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday at 5 p.m. for the next Q&A. Enjoy your week.